Breaking news just hitting the tape. House Republicans have now released details of the tax bill in the last couple of minutes. This is what we know. The bill would exempt workers' tips and overtime pay from income tax, with some exceptions, and would raise the cap on the state and local deduction to $30,000 from the current $10,000. We already knew that the bill would extend the 2017 Trump-era Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, has $880 billion in Medicaid spending cuts. It would raise the child tax credit from $2,000 to $2,500 and roll back Biden-era clean energy policies, as well as adding funding to enhance border security and Trump's immigration policies. The House will gavel in tomorrow to begin the work to get this passed before the federal holiday. But can they do it? We're talking about Memorial Day. I want to bring in House Financial Services Committee Chair and Arkansas GOP Representative French Hill, first on Fox Business. Congressman, thank you. I'm sure that our viewers are dying to hear everything about this, but the House Ways and Means Committee has to get this done and get it to the full House by Memorial Day so that it gets to the Senate. I mean, can you do it?
I believe we can, Liz. It's great to be with you. Congressman Jason Smith, the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, has been working for over a year, going back to last year, in member education, traveling the country relentlessly, listening to small business owners, listening to families in what they need from an American tax code that's pro-growth and pro-family and pro-business. And I think he's achieved that in this bill that the committee will consider tomorrow.
Well, okay, consider tomorrow. The markup begins. Let me just ask, what is the probability it would be passed over to the Senate before May 26th?
Well, look, we've had 8 of our committees already work and complete their work on reconciliation. This week, Energy and Commerce, the Agriculture Committee and Ways and Means will do their markups. And Liz, if you see those markups completed this week, I think that gives Speaker Johnson the ability to assess putting this bill, the big, beautiful bill, on the House floor next week, passing it and sending it to the Senate for their consideration.
All right. So the new news that has come out, because originally this morning we were waiting to hear more details on the no taxes on tips and overtime. Can you give us some granularity on that?
Well, it's my understanding from just a quick look at the particulars that the goals that President Trump had for no taxes on tips and no taxes on overtime have been achieved in the bill. And also, I think that's something important to families in Arkansas. They increased the standard deduction $2,000, and over 9 out of 10 Arkansas families take the standard deduction. This makes it cheaper, easier, and faster to make your tax planning each year. And also, as you noted in the top of the show, a $2,500, which reflects an inflationary increase in the child tax credit. Both those things, I think, help family in Arkansas. The tax cuts rates were made permanent, so there's no tax increase on families at the marginal rate. And I think those things are pro-family and pro-growth for the country.
Is it anti-deficit, though? Here's the question. We need to know how the GOP lawmakers, who have been struggling to find, what is it, $1.5 trillion in spending cuts to offset the trillions of dollars that are added into this, how is that going to work, Congressman? Who's going to pay for this, and how will that come through? Or is it just one of these, oh, these are pro-growth policies, giving people more of their money to keep, they'll spend, and it'll all just come together? Is that really the case?
We've assumed some economic growth impact in the economy from the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act extension, the R&D tax credit, the expensing for small business, and the other features that are built towards capital investment, like 100% expensing on structures if you move back to the United States and build a plant. Those are clearly pro-growth and will attract billions of dollars investment into the country. But House Republicans are committed to $1.5 trillion in spending cuts, and that's what we've committed to, and that's what we've worked on in each of our committees, and I think you'll see that work progress this week. So we plan on having a pro-growth, pro-family tax policy, and we plan on slowing the rate of growth in federal spending that we saw increase to historic avalanche level proportions, both in the pandemic and under President Biden's spending as I say, avalanche of spending. He authorized $6 trillion in new spending programs in his 4 years in office.
Congressman, I think you'll get some pushback from your own party on the SALT cap, even going from 10,000 to 30,000. It was last week that Congress members Elise Stefanik, Andrew Garabino, these are all GOP, Nick LaLotta, Mike Lawler, they are all New York, and they said that this was insulting, this 30,000 level. They wanted a lot higher, and they say it derails President Trump's one big beautiful bill. We reject this offer. How do you bring them on board?
Well, look, I think President Trump and Leader Thune in the Senate and Mike Johnson in the House know that all bills before Congress require some compromise. The SALT cap was $10,000. $30,000 is a big increase on that. There's some phase out on that $30,000 at family incomes over $400,000. But it gets working families certainly much better off than they were under the original bill back in 2017. Everything we do in Congress is not perfect, believe me, I know. And this is just a step that I think when you look at it on balance, this is a pro-family, pro-growth tax policy combined with bending that spending curve down on federal spending.
Is it pro-family with the restrictions that are expected to be put on Medicare and Medicaid, specifically Medicaid? Look, I think that it's totally rational to require people to work for Medicaid, and it's very fair. 19 to 64-year-olds who don't have dependents and who are able-bodied should work to put into the system. But there are other cuts there that are rather significant, and people will say, you know, that's the poor that you are taking from. And yet the president had floated the idea of taxing millionaires, $2.5 million incomes, anywhere up to couples of $5 million, and that's not in it. How do you tell Americans who maybe even voted for the president but are really dependent on Medicaid that this is the right thing?
Well, I think as Dr. Oz just told you, the whole focus of the Medicaid program is on the most needy, our poor families, our chronically ill, our elderly, and that is still the core of the policy. You're right to say that work requirements across the country for able-bodied beneficiaries from Medicaid is one way to repair this. We don't have any intent of hurting those that are on the core Medicaid facilities around the country. It's very important to take care of that, as Dr. Oz just outlined. Look at also what we did in the House Ag Committee. We'll be proposing that states which fund zero of the supplemental nutrition program, it's all funded by federal taxpayers, that they have a metric in there of error rates. If they have accuracy and have good records, then they'll reap a benefit from continued full federal support. But if they don't, they'll start sharing a modest amount in funding the supplemental nutrition program, the food stamp program. This is the kind of balance that I think our committee chairs have worked so hard on, which is to maintain the core benefits of the program, but try to make that program work better for both those who benefit from it, as well as to how it's financed.
We have an audience that invests in crypto. Many are crypto curious. Last week, you released a draft bill to establish a regulatory framework for digital assets. Can you just quickly tell me what it's going to look like? What are the key issues here?
You bet. We want American innovators to be able to innovate and create new companies on a blockchain operating system. And frequently, a blockchain operating system requires a tokenization of an asset or use of a tokenized payment. And Liz, we just don't have the fit for purpose rules of the road for that kind of effort in the securities market or in the economy at large. So we've written two bills, one to create a U.S. dollar-backed stablecoin that would be a dollar-backed stablecoin issued by the private sector to be used on a blockchain for payment. And then we've written a second bill, which is the regulatory framework that outlines how innovators, company startup officials, and others use digital assets, how they raise money, whether it trades as a commodity, whether it trades as a security. We think this will bring clarity to the U.S. market and make us a leader in global fintech.
Congressman, get to work marking up that bill. We'll see what comes through with it. Thank you very much.
You bet, Liz. Thanks.